This is GB News, and it's time now for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, was ditching Boris the Tories' biggest mistake? Now, two of the safest Tory seats in the country have turned red, with Labour overturning huge majorities in by-elections in Mid-Bedfordshire and also Tamworth. The results are a major blow to the Conservatives, throwing the party into a further state of turmoil, as many point the finger at Rishi Sunak for the losses. Now, experts are saying that Boris's Partygate scandal and Truss's mini-budget fiasco could also be to blame for the wipeout. So, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, was ditching Boris the Tories' biggest mistake? Right, so joining me now to discuss, Emma Burnell, political consultant, Neil Hamilton, leader for UKIP, Reem Ibrahim, she's a communications officer for the Institute of Economic Affairs. Right, I'm going to start with Reem because you're here in the studio. Reem, was it their biggest mistake?
I don't think it was their biggest mistake. Their biggest mistake was not being Conservative enough. And actually, when we're thinking about the way in which the leadership elections of last year have played out, the Conservative Party have entirely lost direction. We saw effectively an identity crisis. The Conservative Party don't know what that definition of conservatism actually means. Many of them can't define what a woman is. Many of them can't decide what the tax burden should be. Let's be very clear about this. We currently have the highest tax burden since the Second World War. Higher taxes now than we did under the Labour governments of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. So really, I think this is their own doing. Boris Johnson himself, let's be honest, who really was in power, it was Prime Minister Carrie Johnson with her environmentalist net zero policies.
Well, you don't know that, though. You don't know that. And also, it was not actually the Conservatives who couldn't say what a woman was. That was actually the Labour Party who, and it took Sir Keir Starmer 2 years to finally get to the bottom of it. Emma Burnell.
Well, actually, the initial gender recognition bill was brought forward under Theresa May's government. It's well remembering that both parties have had a mess on this. It was not the biggest mistake. It was probably. Sorry,
Emma, could you move back a little bit back from your mic because it's sort of pitting a bit? Try again there. Try.
How's that? Is that better?
Much better.
Sorry. Yeah, it wasn't their biggest mistake. It was possibly the only thing they could have done. What we're forgetting is that Boris's entire government resigned. He could not form a government. Ministers wouldn't work with him. And the reason was he kept lying to them. He was caught, I said this at this time. No, you didn't. I'll change your story. Change your story while I'm on the television, embarrassing the hell out of me. You cannot run a government that way. And the other thing is, OK, Boris was polling higher than Rishi Sunak or Liz Truss. Liz Truss basically crashed, as well as the economy, the Tories polling. So ultimately, and Rishi Sunak has not been able to bring it back from that. He never will. He's not the guy that's going to manage that. But I don't think Boris would manage that either. All you'd have had is a continuing scandal after scandal after scandal. It might not have fallen off a cliff quite as quickly, but it was still going in that direction. And we'd have had the last year, you'd have had him being found and falling under a recall petition as Prime Minister. That's the only difference that you'd have had.
You think? Neil Hamilton, what do you think?
Oh, well, the one thing we do know about Boris is he certainly knows what a woman is. But I don't think that, that's the central issue here. I agree with my fellow panellists that the big problem for the Tory party is that over the last 13 years, they've serially failed to deliver Conservative policies over the whole range of government. Migration is completely out of control. It's not just illegal migration. The Tory government issued 1.2 million residence visas last year to people who have arrived in this country legally. We got the highest level of taxation since the Akua government because the government under Boris Johnson locked the country down 3 times and effectively destroyed the economy and wrecked public finances. Rishi Sunak and certainly Boris Johnson are completely signed up to the mad eco-objective of the Greens, which is the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in my lifetime, and which is deliberately designed to make the British economy less productive. So it's got to double the infrastructure for electricity generation because we need backup power when the wind doesn't blow or the sun doesn't shine. We could go on and on and on.
Well, please don't.
This has nothing to do with personalities, it's about policy.
Well, listen, but come on. Boris Johnson secured an 80-seat majority, and whilst people were going on about Partygate, I mean, you've got to actually acknowledge that a lot of the media, BBC, Sky News, perpetuated this whole narrative of Partygate, and they were obsessed by it when Keir Starmer had his beer gate. People didn't want to know. It seemed like they'd let him off. So Boris Johnson did secure a huge majority. Emma.
Well, yeah, I think he's got natural failings.
Emma.
Yeah.
He'd been found not to do anything wrong. Boris Johnson's number 10 Downing Street was the most fined place in the country. That's the difference. And honestly, they weren't obsessed with it. They were reporting. It's their job. We are here as a media to hold truth to power. And if we can't say that saying that people who are in Downing Street setting the rules, breaking those rules, is exactly that job of the media, then I don't know what we're all doing here.
Well, Keir Starmer may well have been found innocent, although he did lie on many occasions. I mean, this is not me saying it. He claimed it wasn't a party or that there was an impromptu gathering. It turned out it wasn't. He said that only a few people were there, and it turned out there were at least 30 or whatever it was. He made a load of stuff up as well, and lots of other people are being found out with that. So, in summary then, Emma, do you think that losing... Emma, so do you think...
One we were fined and one where they were not. And that's the bottom of that story.
Yeah, that was all a bit iffy as well. That was all interesting there as well. But Emma, so would you say that losing Boris was their greatest mistake? And if not, what was their greatest mistake in your view?
No, Boris is a symptom. Their greatest mistake, frankly, was the 2010 emergency budget, bringing in austerity.
Just one.
Cutting and cutting and cutting. So
just one. just one, Emma. That's enough. All right, Neil, what do you think then? Was losing Boris their biggest mistake? And if so, what was their biggest mistake?
The biggest mistake were undoubtedly the lockdowns and the economic consequences of those. It's the economy stupid. Remember what...
And Reem,
I've got to say, I agree. I think that the Conservative Party's biggest mistake is having absolutely no ideological direction.
Crikey, thank you very much. So nobody thinks that they should have kept Boris. Emma Burnell, thank you very much. Neil Hamilton, also Reem Ibrahim, thank you for your thoughts. Right.